About to get started. Again, please move to the front of the room, at least the first 5 rows, if you please. It'll make it a lot easier for the speakers to engage you and you to engage the speakers, especially when we get to Q&A. Thank you. So, Sue on the end, Josh in the middle, Mike next to me. Oh, Mike. Josh in the middle. Yeah, that's the right order. Good afternoon, everybody. So, welcome to our BE Modern Man session. It's an original idea, but is it a business? So let me first tell you a little bit about BE Modern Man. This is a campaign that Black Enterprise started actually May of 2015, so we're in our 3rd year, because we recognized that there is no media platform that celebrates the excellence of black men on a daily basis, none. Think about it, the only magazine that exists today is Black Enterprise, for a black man to get on the cover without being athlete, entertainer, President Barack Obama now. But if you're not Jay-Z, if you're not LeBron James, you ain't getting on the magazine cover. And that became amplified. We've always, celebrated the fact that Black Enterprise would feature black men on the cover just because they were successful in business. But in light of Black Lives Matter and other issues that we're facing as black men, it was like the only time we were on the TV screen was as victims or perpetrators or athletes or entertainers. Well, 80% of black men don't fall into any of those categories. Something like 90% of black men have never seen the inside of a jail. Different statistics from different sources, something like 80% of black men have never touched a gun before. But that's not the narrative that's in the media. So at Black Enterprise, us and other executives and managers at the company launched this daily campaign. If you go to blackenterprise.com, you go to BE Modern Man, where we just profile and tell the stories of what we say normal is our extraordinary. We're just regular brothers doing extraordinary things every day. Yeah, how about a round of applause for that? Yeah. And we launched this campaign almost as a guerrilla operation. We didn't have a sponsor. We didn't have an advertiser. It wasn't budgeted. We just pulled it together and said, we're just going to tell these stories and see what happens. Well, as it would have it, it caught fire with sponsors because advertisers were trying to find a way to get into this conversation without screwing up. Without, doing the wrong thing. I'm not going to call any brands out, but sometimes you try to do something, Black Lives Matter, and then it backfires because they don't always know how to engage in the dialogue. But they said, but Black Enterprise knows how to engage in the dialogue. We will support this campaign. Fast forward to today, this is not the first BE Modern Man panel we've done. We've done it at other events. But since we always had a Sisters Inc. panel, which is going on next door, where we showcase women entrepreneurs, we're like, let's do a panel showcasing black male entrepreneurs who are doing some amazing things. And these brothers are just great examples of what BE Modern Man is all about, not only as excellent entrepreneurs, but also as black men who are just doing their normal, extraordinary thing every day. So it's an honor to have you brothers on the stage. And let me say that the latest manifestation of this campaign at Black Enterprise is going to happen at the end of the summer, August 30th through September 4th, I think is the dates, where we're having our first Black Men Excel Summit, which is going to be a celebration of excellence of black men. And I only want to differentiate that from a lot of conferences, unfortunately, focus on how we're going to get out of trouble, how we're going to rescue, and those things are important. But again, there was nothing out there on a national level that says, yes, we have to help and pull up those of us who are struggling, but we also have to celebrate those of us who are really excelling and hold those people up as role models so that the people who are struggling can have something to shoot for, even if they can't rap, play basketball, or run for president. So you guys are a great showcase of what BE Modern Man is all about. And I urge you guys to be at Black Men Excel Summit. It's going to be fun. It's at a golf resort. We're going to be golfing, tennis, but it's going to be some great and powerful sessions uplifting black men. And let me make it clear, black women, you are welcome. You are our biggest cheerleaders, and we want to see you there too. So with that said, the theme of this session is about your ability to come up with an original idea, meaning no one's ever done it before, but sometimes you have an original idea, and the reason why it's not a business is because nobody likes the idea. Sometimes the idea is new, it's never been done before because it's not going to work. But how do you know the difference? How do you have the courage to say, it's never been done before, but I can make it work? And our panelists here, and I'll let them go into more detail, and their bios are in the app, so we're not going to spend a lot of time going through their bios, but let me just briefly introduce each one of them. You have Michael Elliott, whose real career, or first career, is a very successful television and film executive, writer, who decided that men needed to be able to go to a nail salon. And that's not an idea that was universally received as a good idea, that brothers would want to go. And what we know of as nail salons, most brothers only see it when their significant others make them drop them off and pick them up. We ain't going in there.
Yeah, you're right.
Next is, well, first of all, a round of applause for Michael Elliott, founder and CEO of Hammer and Nail Salon Group. Next is one of my favorite entrepreneurs. I mean, he knows that now. He has a company called The Cut Buddy, and I'll let him tell you more. But his idea was, you got to have an alternative to going to the barbershop, especially if we don't have no money to go to the barbershop. What can you do to still maintain your grooming? What's inexpensive but can be done, but can still make you look professionally groomed? And so he created what is called The Cut Buddy, which again, it took him a while to get people to get what he was talking about, but he persevered. And next, and I have to say, I just met Michael today, but I've known Joshua and Sue for a while, so I'm finally glad that I got to meet you, even though we covered you in Black Enterprise and on blackenterprise.com. Round of applause for Joshua.
Thank you.
And finally, Sue Sani, you might remember he was one of the judges for the elevator pitch contest yesterday. I've known him since I was a judge for Tap the Future business plan competition, and his company was one of the companies that won. How much did you win that time?
25,000.
Small change, because now you're winning $250,000, but I understand you're rolling forward. And him and his business partner, Ben Lamson, have a company called We Did It NYC, which is a crowdfunding platform for nonprofits and other charitable and cause-related organizations. That when people think of crowdfunding, they thought of for-profit businesses trying to make a lot of money or making films. But this idea that nonprofits and cause-related entities needed a crowdfunding platform was not universally, and I was one of the doubters, if you remember,
big doubter,
received
actually.
Right away. So what these men have all in common, in addition to being extraordinary men who are just extraordinary in their everyday life, is that they all came up with ideas that they had to make a case for it really being a business. Right. So to kick off to the conversation, let's start with Sue and work our way down. Talk about one of it is what you actually do, you can explain it better than I can, and then talk about some of the early challenges of bringing that from no one's ever done this before to no, this really is a viable business in the marketplace. Sue.
Yeah, sure. So for those of you who don't know, my company's called We Did It, and We Did It helps nonprofits fundraise online. And for the last 5-6 years, we've actually helped over 600 nonprofits all around the country raise, at this point, over $50 million. But when I first started the company 5 years ago, it was very, very difficult to convey the message that nonprofits didn't necessarily mean no profit.
Exactly.
And Alfred wrote a great piece in Black Enterprise about that after we met, and he learned a little bit more about our story. But one of the most difficult things early on was really convincing people who didn't come from the nonprofit world or who weren't very perhaps welcoming of me, understand that there is a viable business in this opportunity. And I just remember many times going to pitch competitions or meeting with investors or people who could be potentially partners, and just seeing blank stares or getting a lot of doubts. So I had to persevere through all of that adversity for sure.
Excellent. Josh?
I feel your pain. You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, my name is Joshua Esnard. I'm the inventor of the Cut Buddy. It's a funny name, I know, but it was strategically chosen as that name so that people would remember. What it is, it's a patented hair grooming guide that you apply against your beard lines or your hair lines, and you run a clipper or a razor, and you end up with a perfect edge up or shape up. It's perfect for in between the barber visits. Just as far as my story go, I am the guy who won the race but hit every hurdle in the track meet, basically. Just starting with the pitch competitions, I went up there with this little piece of plastic that was a prototype that I thought was the next major invention, and just to get blank stares and people just not understanding exactly what it was. But I knew I had something there. I knew that I filled a need that not many people had a product for. Well, there was no product for it. Another hurdle that I ran into before we get into more detail is I'm selling a hair grooming tool and I'm balding. So my time is running out already. Like, I'm on a video cutting my hair with the Cut Buddy, like, buy this product, and people are like, man, look at his hairline, looks like LeBron, oh, he got the George Jefferson, the cul-de-sac, and that was a major hurdle. So I had to do some more strategies and put myself aside, and that's how I ended up going viral, and we'll talk about that more, but yeah, the hurdles were tough, for sure.
Yeah, just so you know, and I know you'll get into more detail, the Cut Buddy is one of the top sellers on Amazon. Wow. So it blew up, and he had some inventory challenges when that happened, but it was just a great story. Michael?
It's Michael Elliott, the founder of Hammer and Nails. The biggest challenge was getting someone to finance this crazy idea. I made my living writing movies. After I had the light bulb moment, I wanted investors to help bring it to life. None of my friends would invest in this idea. And one of my friends sent me a text that just said LOL. I mean, it was literally like that. So fast forward, I'm in Mexico, the last day of our trip. I'm with my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time. And she said, so what's up with Hammer and Nails? What are you gonna do? And I said, well, no one will invest in this. So she said, well, why don't you use your own money? And the truth is that I never considered using my own money because, well, what if it doesn't work? But the moment I realized that I was really experiencing fear and being a man of faith, right. I believe that fear is not of God. Once I intellectualized that, like, the reason I won't use my own money is because I'm afraid, I realized I needed to do it, because what's the worst can happen? I'm gonna learn a lot, but I'm still gonna be okay. Right. So I decided in that moment I was gonna go back home and I was gonna do Hammer and Nails. So I get on the flight, I come back home, I check my mail, I have all of these bills because I've been going for like 9 days. But among my bills was 2 envelopes. One was a green envelope. I'm a writer, so I get residual checks every 3 months for life. So I open up this green envelope, and because I've been getting residual checks for so long, I have an idea of what they should be. Well, this particular residual check was 50 times what it should be. Like, in fact, it was almost the exact amount of money I thought I needed to do Hammer and Nails. Wow. It was in this envelope. It gets better. There's another envelope, and it was from 20th Century Fox. And at the time, I was doing the potential sequel to Waiting to Exhale. I was writing. And in the fine print of the deal, it said, if we don't give you notes to do another draft by such and such date, we gotta pay you. Well, I forgot all about that little clause. But in this white envelope from Fox was another check. Whoa. For money I didn't even know I was due. And it was almost as if God was literally saying, dude, I'm so far ahead of you. Like, all I need you to do is recognize that I got you, and the money is already there. So, that was part of it. And in that instance, I mean, I had, at least enough money to get started and open the first shop.
So that speaks to, and you almost jumped ahead of me, but that's great. A turning point moment. So the first is you got to believe it's going to happen, even though nobody else does. Then there's that turning point moment when you realize it doesn't matter if everybody else believes it. As long as I believe it, I'm willing to move forward. So with Josh and Sue, what were your turning point moments?
Well, I had the idea for We Did It before I had started the company. Obviously, I was actually working at an investment bank around 2011, and there was one day my mom called me, and like mothers do, she was just trying to catch up with her son and figure out what was I up to and make sure I was doing all right. And we had a conversation where she was trying to learn more about what was I doing at the bank all day, every day. My mom, to back up a little bit, she's a pharmacist, and she got a degree in microbiology, so she sees the world through health and through helping people. That's her trade, that's her profession. But at the time, I was like 23, 24, and I was very proud of myself for working at this investment bank because I was making a lot of money at that age. In fact, I was making more money than my parents were. So I thought I was the man. So we're talking, and I go through this whole spiel about I'm the youngest guy in the bank, and I'm responsible for moving billions of dollars from this bank to that bank. And I'm using all these terms and industry jargon, and she stops me and she goes, well, Sue, I really don't know anything about finance, so a lot of this stuff is going over my head. Why don't you tell me, what did you do today that helped someone? How many people did you help today? And I was literally stuck on the phone. My mouth, I couldn't even muster the words to describe what I was doing on a day-to-day basis at this bank that really made a difference in people's lives. And it stuck that moment stuck with me for weeks. And I realized two things after that conversation. One, my mom and my parents are people who see the world very differently, and I really appreciated them for that. But then the second thing was that I vowed to myself that I would never pursue a job or an opportunity if it didn't really help people and it didn't make me feel good about myself. And it was at that moment where I realized I had to do this idea that I had in my mind for a while. Wow. So I literally quit my job soon after that, and eventually I caught up with Ben Lamson, my business partner now, and we started working on We Did It.
Excellent. So Joshua, what was your turning point?
It's definitely centered around what you call influencer marketing, affiliates. So I'll give you my story of how I got to that point, and then I'll give you some points on what you can use to make that turning point in your business. So I'm from a third world country, a developing country called St. Lucia in the Caribbean. My mom had me at 18 years old, very young parents wanting to pursue a degree. So we moved to America. But the thing about living with Caribbean parents, is anybody here from the West Indies? Hey, shout out to everybody out there. Is they're old school. So no matter what, it doesn't even matter how much money your parents may have. My dad was cutting my hair, all right? So I'm 13 years old. My dad's cutting my hair, and my country's called a kobo, and that's the type of haircut where you get one option. That's the flat cut, all the way to bald, or a one, if you'd call it in a barber shop. So I'm like, nah, I'm 13, I got my platinum FUBU on, my waves are spinning, I need to go to school looking fresh, my edge up and my hairlines need to look right. So what I ended up doing was I ended up cutting up his folders for work. He ended up being a professor at Cornell. My parents ended up being professors at Cornell. So that 17, 18-year-old girl that had this kid, we moved to America, and they ended up being big professors. So I cut up his folders for work, and I started testing out this little plastic piece of product, and I started running the razor and the clipper down my hairlines, and I'm like, damn, curve is looking good. So I went to school. People were like, yo, who's cutting your hair? Like, it's me, you know? So I had solved my own problem. And that's something that happens in a lot of households today. There are a lot of problems that you're solving, and you're sitting on that idea or the solution, and you're not actually patenting it. So basically, I sat on this idea for 15 years.
Wow.
I used the product, cut my hair with it. I cut my baby brother's hair with it after he was born. I cut friends who were in college, roommates who were in the military. You know, it just sat next to my sink. It sat there. Like Harper said, don't let it sit. Let it sit for 15 years. I use the product, so I guess that can be my testing, my research and development phase. And one day, we were moving, this is gonna get random, we were moving a treadmill into a house. My girlfriend said the treadmill can't fit into the garage, and we need to take the doors off of the hinges so that we could fit this big treadmill into the garage. And you're gonna wonder, you're saying, where am I going with this? So we fit the treadmill in the garage. Now it's time for me to put the door back on the hinges. I'm like, man, I'm tired. I'll do this some other time. She looked me dead in the eye and said, you never finish what you start. And as strange as that sounds, that kind of hit me in my heart. And I said, you know what? I'm not showing up for my life. I have a good job. I'm getting paid very well, but I'm not happy. So I had this book of inventions that I had from a little kid. The first page was the Cut Buddy. So I have 60 inventions. It just happened to be that the first page was a Cut Buddy. Went to a patent lawyer, got the patent done, and now I'm an entrepreneur. You know, I'm starting a business. So I hook up with a manufacturer after losing many pitch competitions, by the way.
That's how we met. He
yes,
lost
exactly.
the pitch competition.
Oh, yeah. That was when I was trying to find funding to manufacture. So now I'm bootstrapping. Last $300 down to my credit card. You know, bills are coming up. Finally ordered a product. Hundreds of boxes show up to that same garage where the treadmill is. So I'm looking at hundreds of boxes of products, and I'm like, how am I gonna sell all this stuff? So that's when I started cutting my own hair, doing videos on YouTube. Started getting like 5 sales per day. I thought I'd end up paying off like a Toyota Avalon. Is that what you guys are preaching here? Toyota Corolla? I thought I could pay off a car. I was good, okay, all right. Then I started getting roasted on Facebook. It's like, the LeBron hairline comments, he thinks he can take barbers' jobs, which I was not. And it just, you know, my sales plateaued at, you know, 5, 6, 10 sales per day. What I ended up doing was re-strategizing my business by doing influencer marketing. Now, most of you guys think influencer marketing means that a celebrity has to endorse your product. No, I went a different way about it. So I went onto YouTube, and if there's any notes you take about what I tell you today, this will make you $100,000 very quickly. I went on YouTube, I found 4 hungry guys, 3 of them being African American guys, better looking hairlines than me, handsome looking guys that already were doing tutorials on grooming and haircuts and waves. So I contacted them. I said, you know, I have this new product. I'll send it to you. I'll give you a coupon code from my Shopify store where if someone buys the product from you doing a video using it, they'll save 10%, but I'll pay you $1.50 of the product. So we have a kid who had 15,000 subscribers, did a video. All of a sudden, my sales hit 50 sales per day, 100 sales per day, 400 sales per day. I'm walking into the post office with a box, and the postal workers are like, man, you again? That was the turning point. So if there's anything else I can say to you is affiliate marketing is the truth. You don't spend any money big time up front if you do it right. If you find someone who is an influencer who has 15,000 to 50,000 subscribers on YouTube to do a test of your product, it's almost free. You just need to offer them some royalty. And from there, bestseller on Amazon, GQ, Forbes, Black Enterprise. I've done 60,000 units in a year and 3 months.
All right.
Yeah.
Excellent, man.
Excellent. So, Michael, I want you to paint a picture of what Hammer and Nails is, because if you haven't seen it or you haven't been there, I mean, if you saw them on Shark Tank, you might have a bit of an idea. If you saw them in Black Enterprise, you might have a bit of an idea. But when people think nail salons, your experience is a very, very different experience because of the market you're serving.
Yeah. So after I got the idea and decided I was going to do it, one of my friends said to me or asked me, do you really think there's enough men that get manicures to sustain a shop where that's a focus? And I said, well, you don't really get it. Because Hammer and Nails isn't really for the guy that's already getting pedicures. It's for the guy that's never had a pedicure. The guy that would never step foot in a nail salon. My idea was, because that's a bigger market, what if I can create a place where that guy would experience my shop and want to come back to? This is a market that no one's seeing, that I could literally invent a market for my concept, right? And the way to do it.
Let me just interject something. So this is a very important point. If you're going to do something that's never been done before, you have to know who you're doing it for.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how do I get that guy? And the way to do it was to create a place that didn't look or feel like a salon at all. Not only does Hammer Nails not look like a nail salon, it doesn't look like a barbershop, it doesn't look like a fine men's salon, it doesn't look like anyone else's shop, first and foremost. So that was the first thing. The other thing I realized was that if I make Hammer and Nails experiential, if I make this a place where a guy wants to go to and be there for 90 minutes, that if I create a gift-worthy experience, I'm going to reach another market that no one thinks I would get, and that's women. Because how many scarves, bottles of cologne, sweaters can a woman gift a guy on his birthday, when he got promoted, on Father's Day, on Valentine's Day? What if I create a place where a woman wants to spend $120 for their man to be spoiled? So 30% of my customers are women who buy gift cards every day. So Hammer and Nails is, first of all, it's a grooming shop for guys. So our core focus is hand and foot grooming, right? We got the oversized leather chairs and the personal TVs and the low lighting and the complimentary scotch and all that stuff. But we also have a barbering room as well. And it's just man cave nirvana. It's truly special. And
I can't wait, because I haven't been yet.
Oh, you'll love it.
I can't wait. So let's get into some of the brass tacks of learning the difference between it's never been done before because nobody wants it, versus it's never been done before because nobody could figure out how to do it. And you guys are examples of people that figured out how to do it. So talk to me about how you went through the process. Now you're trying to prove the concept, proving the concept. And Joshua, you got almost you proved the concept yourself by using it. You just had to let it sit for a long time. Your concept was proven probably from day one. Yeah. But Sue, how did you convince, for example, people to get on the platform, the nonprofits themselves, who may not have thought of crowdfunding? They're used to trying to apply for grants or make appeals to donors or do fundraisers. What did it take to get them to say, yeah, this is something that we can use to really move this forward for us?
So the strategy that I used to find my first group of customers is something that I think anyone here could use if you have a B2B business. And it's using letters of intent to demonstrate that there's an interest from that potential customer in your product or your service. So I knew that nonprofits, just like any other company or organization, had products and services that they use to run their organizations. Just because they're a nonprofit organization doesn't mean that they don't need to buy things. And I also had experience directly working with organizations and their leaders and learned that they were interested in crowdfunding. They just didn't really know how to go about doing this. So all this stuff was in my mind. I was getting it from my experience working with people, but I needed some proof that I could show an investor or my teammates and other people so that they can really understand that there's an opportunity here. So, I think I actually winded up doing some research online and coming across a letter of intent. And a letter of intent is just basically kind of like a semi-contract that two corporations or organizations might have between each other, where one is saying that I am interested in using your product under these certain conditions. And I use that as a way to start the conversation with a group of nonprofits and then basically get them hooked onto the concept that we were going to build a platform for them where they can raise money online. And once I had that's what really solidified the relationship with these organizations. And after we built the prototype, we already had a group of 10, maybe 12 customers who were waiting for us to launch with them.
And I want to say in a few minutes, we're going to open up for Q&A. I think this is the Q&A mic, so you can start lining up whenever you're ready. We want to definitely get your questions in. I want to talk a little bit about, though, and I know Michael's story because we've covered him, and I know Josh's story because I almost in some ways personally witnessed it. Even when you get the ball rolling, you're going to be faced with doubters. Even as you get it started, people telling you it's not going to work. Even some people who love you and care about you. Why are you doing this? Hill Harper's talk this morning was very apropos to this idea that you can surrender to that fear or you can embrace that fear and keep moving forward. Talk about what it means to be an entrepreneur that's trying to convince the world that this makes sense. And you went on Shark Tank, and that I know. And
didn't get a deal.
Didn't get a deal. Mm-hmm. Again, I've seen Joshua be disappointed. Susan, you guys seem like you win everywhere you go, but I know that's not the truth. Only what I saw. But talk about what it takes from your own mindset as an entrepreneur to really be able to return to the fundamentals of what you're trying to do and stay committed to that.
Should I?
Either one.
Well, I'll start.
Sure.
So I have a very specific point of view. I refer to that as God glasses, right? And what I mean by that is what I've realized through this experience with Hammer and Nails is that, when I just look at situations and obstacles through my own eyes, I can see the wall, I can see the door that's closed, I can see all the things that can prevent me from succeeding. But when I look at things through his eyes, like the door doesn't exist. It just isn't there. So, as you know, I went on Shark Tank.
Right.
And in front of 7 million people, all 5 of the sharks said,
including 4 men.
Yeah, and said, nah, I'll pass.
Right.
And one of them said, it'll never work. Yep. And I stood there in that moment and I was literally like, okay, in that moment, I don't get it, because I was invited to be on Shark Tank 5 weeks after I opened Hammer and Nails. I didn't stand in the line. It was nothing but God. But here I am at Shark Tank, never expecting that all 5 of the sharks would say no to me. Like, I'm sure no entrepreneur thinks that, but it happened to me. And in that moment, I'm like, okay, my daughter is watching, so I gotta look a certain way. But I was crushed inside, but I'm still trying to process it, right? So now, let me add this. From the very beginning, when I came up with Hammer and Nails, the goal was always to franchise,
yes,
right? Yes. To grow. So here I am, I'm on Shark Tank trying to raise the $200,000 so I can franchise. They all say no. Fast forward. One night, I'm sitting home, and I'm thinking about how clearly I was meant to come this far. Clearly, there have been too many signs that this was something that I was supposed to do, right? And that's one of my heat checks. Is it my idea or God's idea? So I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do despite what everyone thinks, but I need this money. Where is the money? So I'm sitting there one night and I realized that after I appeared on Shark Tank, I had over 900 people request information to buy a franchise. I had their email addresses. So I'm sitting there one night and I'm like, it hit me. why don't I reach out to these 900 people that want a franchise, that want information on my business? Maybe in that sea of people, there's the money.
Right.
So I wrote a letter, but it wasn't just a letter. Well, let me add this part, because this is something I want you to get. So I wrote a letter to all 900 of these people. I used MailChimp, and I sent this email out, and basically it said, hey, by the way, if you want to own a piece of Hammer and Nails, there's an opportunity here. Essentially, that's what it said. I pushed send. 3 minutes later, I got my first response. Within 72 hours, I had over 40 strangers wanting information on investing in my business. They saw me on Shark Tank. So what I did was I created a video, a personal video for every one of those people that wanted information.
Wow.
You saw me push record, and I said, hey, Alfred, Mike Elliott here. Thank you for your interest in my business. This is what I'm, right? It was a personal video. And I sent each video with a password with each person's last name as a way for them to view it. So they knew that Michael Elliott, the guy that wrote Brown Sugar and all these movies, they knew that I took the time to make a video just for them. And it mattered because within 5 days, I raised all the money I was seeking from the sharks from 8 individuals that I had never met.
Wow.
And 6 of the 8 I never even spoke to on the phone. 8 strangers each sent me $25,000 to invest in me in this business without meeting me. All of them said it was a video. It was, in my mind, and by the way, this is what I want you to get out of this. Like, you gotta think out of the box. It's how I sold my first script without an agent or a manager, thinking differently. It was something about, I thought about who's gonna give me 25 grand that lives in Houston? They can't meet me for coffee. They need to be able to look in my eyes and see that I'm genuine. How can they do that? So I created a video. And people watched the video over and over and over and over again. But that's how I raised the money to begin my franchising effort.
One of the things that all three of you have in common, and Joshua and Sue, I want you to jump in, is that when you're trying to create something new and get buy-in from other people, you have to find a way to personalize it. You talked about your letter of intent and you finding an influencer, but before the influencer, it still was important that people saw you using your product.
Correct. My first 3,000 units, when I ordered them, we touched about 50 countries across the world from orders that were coming in. I wrote every single one of them a personalized letter, read where they were from, researched what their location was in Switzerland, and I said, I see there's a cool spot here. Maybe one day in the future I can meet you and we can go skiing or something like that. But I wrote 3,000 letters for our first products that we sold.
Because what you're building, and I know this is true for Sue as well, you're building not only investors, of course, or customers, but ambassadors who can go where you can't go and basically be you and say, what, you're a nonprofit and you don't know about, let me tell you how we did it, helped us to reach our revenue goals. Oh, what, you don't know about? And so often, especially when we're operating, I would say with less confidence than we should have, with an idea that's a new idea, sometimes we do the opposite. We almost we feel shy about mentioning it, and we don't want to hear about people saying, they don't get it. When you really have to be the opposite. I mean, would you agree, Sue? You have to almost be the opposite to really try to be contagious. Let people catch your craziness,
Absolutely.
if you will. So talk about that, Sue, in terms of once you get charity signed on, how do you go from that to winning $250,000 or $25,000 in a pitch competition? Because now you can convince people who really have resources to buy in.
Right. The short of the story is showing social proof, right?
Yes, social proof.
Once you start getting some level of traction, be it a few customers, or an investor here and there. You want to show the next group of people that you do have some type of movement going on.
Yes.
And that there's some momentum building. And I love Michael and Josh's story because it's a great example of how you use personalization to get people more and more invested in your idea and your concept. And I have a similar story as well. But overall, in going from barely being able to raise $10,000 to eventually winning a $500,000 investment, and then raising $1 million from all these other investors in Silicon Valley, those things wouldn't have happened unless those people saw that we had already brought on a group of early customers and had early believers. And I think for everyone here, once you even have one person who's your champion, you need to show that champion to everyone else, right? That's how real leadership really, transpires. So those are the things that we tried to do. Whenever we brought on an investor, and we would go speak to another group of investors, we would always show the people that we have already in our corners. And that's what really helped the ball continue rolling.
So Joshua, I want you to tell you, this is maybe a semi-personal story because it's happened between us, of a point of discouragement for you. Let me start it off just a little bit. So Joshua and I at this point had stayed in touch after he didn't win the pitch competition that I judged, but we stayed in touch.
Yeah.
And he reached out to me and he was very upset because there was another business that came out with a product that wasn't the exact same thing as Cut Buddy, and they weren't marketing in the exact same way, but it was a very similar tool. Yeah. And they were getting all kinds of attention, even though they weren't getting the sales that he was getting. He was like, I can't get a break, nobody's paying me attention, and he reached out to me via LinkedIn to see what I thought. And go ahead, Josh.
Well, first off, thank you so much for spending the time and writing me that essay, which kicked me right back on track. So I just give him a round of applause for being an amazing human being, first off, because this guy goes out of his way to help anybody. You told me stay in my lane and run my race. If you're running a race down a track and you're always looking behind you, there's no way you're really ever going to beat your own record. So you might win the race, but you won't beat your own record. You need to just run forward and keep sprinting. So as soon as you wrote me that long description of what I need to do, I think that's where we went into a strategy called the headhunting phase. So the headhunting phase turned out to be a phase where we would seek out anybody and anyone who can help our business, whether it be Forbes magazine, GQ, or Black Enterprise that would write about us. And it also was a phase that we used to eliminate all knockoffs online. So if you have a patent, I know these guys here are working on a patent, very good guys, they're gonna be millionaires for sure. They have a neck for your shirt. When it gets dirty, you put the little neck liner in and it keeps it clean. You're going to run into knockoffs like crazy, Alibaba, eBay, everywhere, and you might not be able to actually identify it. What's gonna happen is your sales are gonna be skyrocketing. You're like, oh, making money, this and that, and then one day your sales are just gonna cut in half. So that's the first indicator. If something just happens where your sales cut in half, you're being knocked off. So our headhunting mission was, I send a guy out and he finds my product through using search terms, and we take them down. eBay, Amazon, Alibaba, their legal counsels know me by name now. Because I said, well, next time Black Enterprise or Forbes talks about me, I'll be sure to say that you guys didn't help me take my patents down, and you're not helping American inventors. And they helped me out, so they took the products down. But to his point is, you just need to run your own race and innovate in your own ways. Like our team has some sick guerrilla tactics that we use. Not illegal, obviously, but guerrilla marketing and guerrilla indirect ways of earning profit. People knock me off, I take them off the internet, my profit goes back up. So that's an indirect way of marketing, actually. So.
And here's a couple of things that, granted, was a very long essay, I guess, I wrote to you. But there's something else that's important when you're coming up with a new idea that's new to the marketplace. and Sue, you said it's
Social proof.
social proof. Competition is a form of social proof.
Yep.
Right.
When you start having sales, there are going to be people saying, how can I get a piece of that? You know, your social proof is when other people start trying to start salons that's going to appeal to men. And I told them, your job is not to be the only, your job is to be the best.
Yes.
So that people are always comparing whatever they put out to, but is it as good as a Cut Buddy? Oh, there's another crowdfunding platform for nonprofits. Well, is it like we did it?
Yeah.
You know, I went there. It's not like Hammer and Nick. So it's not that you don't want competition. You just want to make sure if you're playing your own race, you're running your own race, they will always compare that competition to you.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why it's very important for you to have a real clear idea of what you're doing and who you're doing it for and why. So, okay, we got our first questioner. Let me just do one more question to the panel, and then we'll open up for our first question. I urge others of you to line up. Talk to me, and if there are no issues related to this, then don't feel like you have to create one, but were there any unique challenges or opportunities that accrued to you as black men pursuing these ideas? You're not selling to just black people. You found out your market is not just men. But were there some unique things that either were advantageous to you or challenges for you in terms of how you were being perceived in pursuing what each of you have pursued? These aren't, quote unquote, typical, like a white person can easily use the Cut Buddy. It's not like, oh, you gotta have a fro to use the Cut Buddy. So just briefly, as BE Modern Men, talk about what it means, both in terms of opportunity and challenges, to be extraordinary in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So there came a point in my business where we had already gotten a bunch of customers. We might have already even raised some money. So, you know, we're operating, we're off to the races, but we started getting these messages either through email or sometimes in conversation with prospective customers where they would call us a boys club. And it was because when you would go online to our website or you would do research on We Did It, you could obviously see that we were a team of about 12, 13 guys. And while that might not seem that weird, it is weird in the nonprofit world where usually the person on the other end of the phone or at the other end of the table is a woman. In the nonprofit space, most of the time, the development director or the people who are part of the board, they're women who are leading these organizations. So, you know, I started to realize that, one, we weren't being perceived in the right way, or at least in the way that I wanted to be, because we weren't just a boys club. Right. You know, we were a group of people who wanted to actually help and build a sustainable business. But more importantly, our company didn't really reflect our customer. And, you know, this is, I guess, beyond a black and white thing. It was just more about, you know, putting ourselves in the shoes of our customer and delivering a message and a product that really resonates with them because we understand who they are. So because of that, I changed the way I was hiring. I really looked back at myself and thought about what type of implicit biases I might have had and how that might have led to having a team of 12, 13 guys.
Yeah, I want to say something that's very important because I think it's important to underscore.
Sure.
We think of diversity as somebody has to let us in. We don't always think about when we're in charge to the degree to which we are embracing diversity the other way around. And when you become an employer who is serving clients, you're having the same concerns that somebody who's, you know, the head of Nationwide has to pay attention to.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, it became pretty serious for me because I started to think that maybe we're not getting the deals or making the sales that we could have because we seem like a boys club. So I wanted to change that ASAP. And, you know, I made a concerted effort to reach out to women that I respected in the nonprofit world to get referrals for new, applicants for our job openings. At one point, I turned the entire sales team to an all-female sales team because they're the ones who are going to be the face of the company when they go out and reach out to new customers. So, these things became important to me because I knew that they were affecting my bottom line. And in general, I just think it's general good practice to have a diverse team. Diverse teams, are proven to perform better than homogenous teams. So, that was one lesson that I learned that, hopefully, that was a lesson that we definitely were able to learn and turn around.
Right.
Yeah.
Josh?
People are real quick to label your product into a specific niche market and label you as a black-only product, when my product is a hair grooming tool that allows anybody to shape up their hair. Where the mistake may have happened was we started out with our videos with all black men. I mean, it's my story that I'm trying to tell through other people's as models, but it took a while for us to cater to a diverse crowd, even to women with short hair. We had to get new affiliates that represented that group. I'll say one thing, this is the last thing I say, is that label is killing us. You guys as inventors and product owners, when you're ready to go to retail, don't let them try and corner you into that bottom left corner of the beauty aisle where they have Dax and Murray's and Durags and stuff like that. Our product should be eye level. We should have the same chance as anybody else to sell our product. So I'm on calls with retailers now, and they're like, oh, so do you want it in the ethnic section? I'm like, no, I want my product at eye level where every other product is.
Yes,
so
very important.
Just whenever you're going, I know you guys will end up going to retail eventually, just keep that in mind.
And Mike, real quick, anything you would add to that? Or?
No, I'm good.
Okay, we'll go to question and answer. We want to get some questions in. So now you already know how I roll, but I'm going to say the rules. We want a question and an answer. We want to get as many questions as possible. So try to keep your questions tight, concise, and so we can get the answers in before we run out of time. I got about 8 minutes, 6 minutes before I have to wrap up.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, first, thank you all for coming. The information has been very insightful. I guess when it comes down to introducing your products to the market, what suggestions or advice would you guys say would help to, make your business more successful, I guess?
So we're talking about product introduction.
Well, since my product is low tech, kind of like you guys, you need to just have a high tech strategy. I think best for you guys is that affiliate model. And if you want to talk to me, I'll even connect you to some of my affiliates, because now they have like 150,000 followers, and leverage their audience to boost your sales. That'll lead you to going viral. Just make sure you're ready to catch viral sales. I'll tell you that much.
Right. Okay, great question. Next.
Mr. Elliott, I would like to know, have you had anybody that wanted to invest in your franchise that you've chosen not to deal with, or what type of things have made you possibly not want to work with someone more so than work with them?
Great question. Did you have an occasion to say no to a potential investor or partner, and why?
Yeah, I have. I had one example was a very, very successful white real estate developer from Houston who wanted to buy the rights to develop hammer and nails in the state of Texas. It was clear that he was a numbers guy, but he didn't get the special sauce. He wasn't passionate about the brand and what we're doing. He just saw this as business, which I don't. It's and based upon his point of view, I felt like it wasn't a good fit. And that's an example of me not taking that check because I'm thinking about the long-term relationship and my brand. And if this guy's going to represent our brand and I want to be in business with him for 10 years or more, it's got to be like a marriage.
Yeah, and the thrill of getting an investment only happens once.
Right.
So 5 years later, if you ain't feeling the relationship, the thrill will be gone. Okay, next question.
Great panel, gentlemen. Josh, can you talk about inventory management as well as labor costs when you try to make a professional-looking product and scaling?
Inventory management. I have a personal experience with my product going viral after getting those affiliates. So my sales were at 400 and then the bubble burst. and I got 4,000 sales in one day. I only had 200 products in my house at that time, so I owed 3,800 products to various people across the world. You have to have, one, an insurance strategy, but before that, you should have been proactive to know that you're running out of inventory, so start a new order. The insurance damage control strategy is that once you know that people have bought your product and you can't fulfill, you need to contact them less than 24 hours and let them know that, what I did was I said, I'll give you a free product, or you can have all your money back. People have been waiting for my product for their whole life, so they're like, all right, I'll get a free product. So 95% of the people accepted just a free product. What was your second question?
As far as packaging, when it comes to making it look professional, even though you're at a small scale.
I've been lucky because I was just a computer geek my whole life, breaking computers all the way to using software. So I designed all my packaging to websites and stuff like that. When it comes to packaging though, make sure you understand what a G10 is, UPCs, go to the gs1.org and take the tutorials.
Okay, I'm being told I can't do one more? Okay, I can only take one more question. So you're the lucky dude.
Great. Great panel, gentlemen. Denzel Richburg from Cognizant Consulting. My question really is for Michael and Josh. How do you tie your success to your relevance and purpose? And you speak about your spirituality, and really more so for you, Michael, and being relevant.
You know, for me, a big part of what I do and why is I wanted to be able to impact other people's lives, quite honestly, financially. You know, for me to be able to employ, my God, 13 African-American women. You know, one of my African-American women earned $130,000 last year. And she sent me a text today because 1 year ago today, I went to the BMW dealership with her and helped her get her BMW. 3 years before that, she was sleeping in her car. She drove across the country from DC, single mom, sleeping in her car, walked into my shop with a backpack and an attitude. And fast forward 4 years later, she's family and she's doing well. And so I have so many stories. The more I'm able to do, I feel like the more I'm blessed.
Joshua, you want to?
Sometimes your mission doesn't come clear until you actually go to market. Getting people sending you emails saying, I have a disability. When I take medicine, my hands shake, and because of your product, people with disabilities can cut their hair better. Knowing that you're making someone's life better like that, or helping a veteran or a soldier overseas cut their hair without going into danger, or a single mother save a little bit of money, or helping a salon earn $400 more per month because now they offer beard shave, that's where your mission comes in and you realize that it's more about helping people than actually getting rich. Getting rich is nice, but when you actually get an email like that, you almost cry and you feel good inside. So.
Yeah, and I'll let you, Sue, close it out. Your whole mission of We Did It is enabling that kind of transformation.
Yeah, I definitely have to echo what Josh is saying. Usually for me and my colleagues, when we hear the stories from our customers about the money they were able to raise and the impact they're able to make with that money in their communities or around the country, that's what really keeps us motivated beyond the financial success that we're having. So
Excellent.
Yeah, customers are the driving force.
Yep. Let's give a round of applause to men who are extraordinary on an everyday basis, just being who they are. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for being a great audience.